Are you telling me that nobody wants banisters on their patio as a birthday gift? Because I certainly did, and I actually got them. Hi everyone, welcome to Narain's Life with MS. This is Narain, and it's time for What MS Taught Me. So today, I did want to talk about a little about, the walking aids that are actually available and are used by a lot of people with MS. And I do have a cane. It's all the way in the corner. But the thing is, I am so bad at using the cane that it's better that I go without the cane. Now the problem without the cane is that you know the hardest thing that would actually end up happening is that I have to go walk on an empty patch of grass, which I'm pretty sure a lot of people would love doing, but definitely not me. And I'll tell you why. First of all, the ground will be uneven. Second, there is nothing to hold on to, so there is no way of knowing which step is going to be the step that I fall over on. And finally, there is no way in knowing if my left leg is actually going to lift up enough to be able to take the next step. So you know looking at all of these things that are there, one of the things I did want to really discuss were some of the walking aids that are currently available for all patients, right? You do have the regular things like a cane, you do have a walker, you definitely have a wheelchair. There are also exoskeletons that are out there. I'm trying to find one that is cheap enough that I can definitely use it. But the one thing that I have noticed is that with the multiple walking aids that are available, a lot of times what ends up happening is that your condition is such that you look like you need a walking aid, but no walking aid really works out for you, or whichever walking aid does work out for you might be a little too expensive, or not really expensive, but it would definitely require a lot of managing to ensure that it works as per its intentions. um, because one of the things that does happen is my with my left leg, um, one thing that I always have to be a little wary of is the fact that I need to walk next to a wall. And definitely I think if I am a little better with meditating, hopefully I can get over the need to have something to hold on to. But I definitely want to say that at least as of now, having something to hold on to is so important, right? And that is generally my biggest issue with a cane, because a cane can be very light, right? It's not flimsy. It's not like it won't be able to sustain my weight. I don't think I'm that heavy, at least for now. But the thing with the thing with a cane is it has to be grounded for me to be able to put my weight on it. And knowing me, chances are I am not going to put all of the legs onto the floor before putting my weight on the cane. And as comical as that might sound, I even have a cane which is on, a tripod. So it's not even that, um, there is something that is completely impossible to do, right? My cane is able to stand on its own. It's just that I don't let it stand on its own. So that is my biggest issue with at least that walking aid. Now I can definitely go on to some of the other ones that are there, like a walker, for instance. The issue with walkers are that, um, they're usually fine. They're manageable. I've used a few, and the one thing is that, with a walker, you do need to put a little bit of force to get it to move, especially if it's my favorite type of walkers, which are, the ones with the wheels. Now, I don't know if you remember physics, at least high school physics, but a force that is constant when applied on an object will cause the object to accelerate. So you can guess how many times I have come so close to face planting while pushing a walker around. And yes, there are walkers that are just, the ones where you have to lift and, you know, put in front of you. Those are fine, but usually looking at those, the big issue I have is, what if they become too, what if I get too tired of lifting them? They are very light, right? I think they are like just a smidge heavier than, a cane. But even then, knowing the level that my fatigue can get me, a lot of times I am afraid that a walker that, I get to lift, like a wheel less walker, might just be too heavy after a little bit of time. And the worst part about, the wheel-less walkers, they don't have like a seat in front, so you can't sit on it when you get tired. You have to find another chair to sit in. So, it definitely does create certain issues. Um, then what other options are there? So I've talked about the walker, I have talked about the cane. Another one that I, did end up, experiencing was a wheelchair. Now, wheelchairs are fun, right? I do love, riding around in a wheelchair. A lot of times when, especially if the ground is uneven or rough, you get a really good massage out of it. The only problem is, a lot of times people don't let you wheel yourself, or at least people don't let me wheel myself. And yeah, I mean, it kind of feels like I'm relying on someone. So yeah, as far as the mobility aid goes, I don't like the fact that I need aid for that mobility to happen. I mean, if I get the chance to, wheel my own wheelchair, I would love it. But, that is, I definitely need people to be able to get on board with that. And also, ramps, at least going uphill, are not going to be a friend at that point in time. And whereas when we talk about, let's say, a motorized wheelchair, those things look really cool. I'm just, the only thing is, a lot of times, say you're trying to cross over a door sill or something that, it's just a little above the ground, and um, you aren't able to cross it in that wheelchair. The whole point is you will have to get up, and then that wheelchair is going to become a little too heavy for you to be able to you know lug around. So there's like a little bit of drawbacks to each of them. And then finally, there are lots more mobility aids that are probably out there. I just haven't found them. But one that I've actually done a video on, and I know that is, of course, the exoskeleton, which is very, very cool. And I think, similar to an exoskeleton, there are certain things that you can attach to your joints, like um, your knee, for instance, and it can provide that electrical charge so that you can move your knee without having to without requiring as much energy as you do. So that does exist. The only thing is, those things can get, they are definitely pretty electricity intensive. So there is a chance that, you could run out of charge and you're still not done with whatever you were doing. And then, you just have a piece of, uh, machinery just hanging on to you, which when I think about it, does seem a little annoying. Now, one thing I do want to say is I haven't tried any of these electrical equipment yet. So, a lot of what I am coming from is just my perception of these things. So, yes, please do correct me if you have experience with them, and definitely do know a lot more about you know those mobility aids. But that pretty much covers the whole range of mobility aids that at least I know of, and the ones that at least I have either tested a little bit or had a little bit of experience in, or definitely have vowed not to be happy using, just because of certain circumstances. So with that being said, are there any walking or mobility aids that maybe I haven't covered? Please do share that. And as always, you can always share your thoughts, your insights, your experiences with any of these mobility aids and what actually works out for you very, very well. So you can definitely do that. But of course, with all of that said, this is Narain's Life with MS. I am Narain, and here is me wishing you a good night, sweet dreams, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Bye.